We're going to start just really quickly with what we just finished, the Translucent Veils project, where it was a fully integrated collage project. So when you were finished, you really had a hard time picking out where the collage was. But the collage, the purpose of the collage was that make these textures and these interesting things happen with this water, translucent water media, the watercolor and the India ink that we used. So today what I'm going to show you is how to take it off the boards. We'll keep those, so don't throw those away. But when you pull the tape off, you want to pull the tape away from your painting so that just in case it wants to rip, it will rip away from the painting. So you can just pull those off and then you'll have a beautiful painting. If you didn't put your name on the back, please put your name on the back with a pencil and art or Roman numeral 5W, so we know whose class you're in. Because at the end, on December 9th, I think we're having the big art show and everybody's going to get to choose a piece to put in that show. So we're going to keep these here today, even though I'm going to show you a quick thing about matting artwork when you're working on anything that's not a canvas or canvas boards. Things that artists do that you don't know that we do, because we don't tell you, okay? So this painting that I have here, I really like this painting just as it is. I think it has really nice transitions. It doesn't have too much white. It has a nice balance and a lot of movement through it. So if I were to frame this one, I would probably frame this one or even float it where the mat is outside of the artwork itself, and then just mat it so it's floating in the mat. However, I'm going to show you how to decide how you want to frame it using these little pieces of white paper on your table. So everybody has two of these, okay? And I'm going to move it over because I don't like this one. This one has a lot of really sharp, too many sharp transitions, too many white things, and it's just not well balanced. It's really dark. It's like dark and light. So when you squint, there's not a lot of midtones, right? There's not a lot of value. So what artists can do sometimes is you use two pieces of scrap mat board or these papers, L-shaped papers, and you can move it around and decide, ooh, now see, I like that a little bit better. Or you can move it a little bit bigger. Or you can decide to maybe cut your paper into fours and make four very small paintings that can become cards. So by using this, you can kind of use the part of your composition that you like better. So sometimes instead of a cruciform, it becomes just a diagonal composition or even an L-shaped composition. So, I mean, you even could, if you really don't like the whole thing, you could even turn it like that. Does that make sense? So even though we're not going to cut these today, I wanted to show you that in case you do work on your own things at home or have old paintings where you like part of the painting, but the rest of it got muddy or you just don't like it and you're done working on it, like you're just done. You can take things made on paper, and some people work on canvases that aren't stretched. They just work on the canvas, muslin, and then they'll stretch it after. And that allows them to stretch it on the size of canvas they want to, canvas frame, and they can do this very same thing where they can stretch only the part they like, which makes a lot of sense, right? Okay, so those are on there for you in case you want to play around for a few minutes, but what I want to tell you is that we're not going to actually cut them today, okay? We're going to put those wonderful paintings that you did in the drawer, and we'll keep them until the end when we'll pull everything out and have a little gallery crawl at the end and help you decide what's going to be in the show. Is everybody with me? Okay, great. So we will give these back to you at the beginning in just a few minutes so you can pull that tape off, and we'll take the boards from you and throw the tape away. All right, so today we're also going to start our second project, which is a partially integrated project. And what I mean by that is you're going to have an underpainting already done of the basic local color of your drink, in this case a martini. And then you're going to be collaging most of it out with collage papers. But you have the option to leave little peaks of your underpainting under there, so you don't have to feel like you have to cover everything exactly perfectly. And once you start, you'll see why that's really helpful and important. So we're going to be studying the artwork of an artist from Texas, a contemporary artist. His name is James Hudek, or Jim Hudek, and he's a self-taught artist. He's done a whole lot of different types of art, but settled on this mixed media collage idea. And he does more than just drinks. So when you get this digitally, these links, these in blue, you can click on it and see more of his artwork. It's fabulous. He does people, he does all different things, all with this collage technique we're going to be using today. So sometimes most of the time his collages also have a meaning or a storytelling element behind it, where he uses the collage papers, in that case photo montage, where you're taking pictures from something else, cutting it out and repositioning it and replacing it with other things to make a different story than it was originally. Okay, so that's what photo montage is. So this is partially integrated collage and a photo montage project together. So the examples on the back are some of his cafe culture drinks that he does. He does a lot of martinis. So you don't have to do martinis. You can do coffee. You can do anything you really want to. But I just thought that the cafe culture was interesting. You could do a Starbucks Frappuccino, and it's easy, basic shapes as well. Okay? So today, we're probably only going to get through to step 5 or 6. Because we're going to paint that underpainting, but then it has to dry a little bit, so then you may or may not get started collaging in the background. I gave 4 weeks for full classes for this project. It shouldn't take us that many, but I didn't want us to have to rush, because collaging does take a while, especially sometimes you get to the point where you want this one specific thing and you have to look through magazines to find it, right? So it takes a little bit more time. But to help us jumpstart on the collage part, we have bins of magazines, pages that have been color coordinated that you can use, but also I'll be putting stacks of magazines on your table too. But you can go to the bins first to find the colors you need, and if you can't find what you need there, then you'll have to go through magazine. Everybody still with me? Yay. All right, so this project's a little funner, so I encourage you to kind of have fun with it. You can have a little storytelling element in it. These are different types of martinis, so you can make up a whole new martini, which is what I'm doing. This is called a Tennessee teeny. So I'm doing this for Tim's brother, who has bought a lot of my paintings and likes art, and he's a Tennessee man through and through, so I'm going to make the Tennessee football teeny. So I have painted, so you're going to pick 3 colors to start. Some of you may need 4. I'm actually going to do 2, and I'll explain why. You're going to be picking the basic local color of the things in your picture. What I mean by that is Tennessee colors are orange and white and black. And you also have to think about contrast. So your drink needs to stand out against what you put behind it in the background. So it either needs to contrast with value, meaning if I have a light colored drink, I need to have a dark colored background, or vice versa. So if you have a white coffee cup, then you need to have a dark colored background. Does that make sense? Okay, or you can contrast with intensity. So you could have something really, really bright and the really electric color in the foreground for your drink, and then have dull colors in the background. So you can do it either way or both. So I am going to do a Tennessee teeny, and part of the Tennessee crazy outfits they wear is that checkerboard, white and orange checkerboard clothing. So I'm going to checkerboard the table. So I painted the whole table orange, and I'm going to paint this orange as well. And so that way I can get the checkerboard effect in. But normally I probably would have painted this a color, the table a different color, and the drink a different color. If you have a coffee cup, right, you could have the background color, a coffee cup color, a table color, and then the color of the coffee. So there's a little variations in that, okay? Anything that is clear and see-through, like the part of the drink like this martini, that you're going to be able to see the background, you will paint that part background color, being sure to leave little white edges so you don't lose your thing. So right now I'm going to also paint in this martini orange, and then I'm going to paint orange all the way down to here. And most of that's going to get covered up to make it look like glass, but glass reflects all the colors around it, right? So it's going to reflect the black, it's going to reflect the orange. But just to make it easier on myself, I usually just paint the whole shebang that local color. Is everybody with me? You understand that? Okay, so this was an example of the lemontini I did. So I got the black background, I got the color of it, this was the printer that printed this out really orange, but it was yellow, and then a green ground because I wanted that lemony Sorrento limoncello feel of it. When we had it out on the window for a while, and it ended up looking like this, so it faded it all out, but you can see what it really looked like if you look here. That's what it looked like before the sun got to it. So this is an example of when we start collaging, the different choices you can make in collaging and what I mean by storytelling. So in the background here, I just collaged squares. I wanted it really geometric, so I just cut out squares of the black and white that I collaged down without too much storytelling. I just thought about patterns. I just looked for patterns in the back. But you can, if you want, like on Jim Hudek's stuff, I thought I had an example of his printed out. You can actually cut out pictures like this one right here. If you look on the back, see that lady there? He actually cut things out to tell a story about that martini piece, like, you know, martini and a cigarette, right? And stuff like that. So you can actually cut things out to help to be part of a storytelling about your drink. So last night someone took and did a martini, but like the martini was falling over, and she just wanted like to find a big elbow. So she sort of had an idea, was looking through stuff, and then found a man wearing jeans with his hands in his pocket. But it's big, so it's like the man, boom, knocked it over. She's like, and only a man would knock it over. Sorry. So, you know, you can have fun with it and play with it like that. Like you can put things in the martini drink. Like if you could do like I was thinking it would be fun to do like a seaside martini, where you have people like a scuba diver in there, or somebody else was doing like a rubber ducky floating around, and like a baby sitting there, baby theme. So you have fun with your drink. Again, it doesn't have to be a martini. It can be a wine glass. It can be anything. Okay? Are you guys with me so far on that part? Okay. So yes.
But for your geometrics that you had in there, did you get those from magazines or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I just cut them straight out of magazines. Okay.
Another question.
Yeah. Go for it.
And this is done over the paint or about the paint?
Yep.
Okay.
So this one has a whole lot more storytelling in it, right? So I didn't have these ideas until I just saw it in the magazine. I love this group called Pink Martini. We'll listen to them today. And so I wanted to do a pink martini, and they do this eclectic, very international music from all over the world. So I was kind of going for that idea of a pink martini, but then I found this lady with this stick, and it was just working. And look at the zebras, and girls are always watching, and there's like some hot looking guy back here, look, see? And look at these dudes, a lot of symbolism in this one. So you could do that, and then there's no horseplay or profanity or pop references, just bewildering flurry of shop talk. So you can find little things like that and hide them in there, and it becomes very interesting. Do you have to? Absolutely not. You can just use collage as a design element. You can do patterns, you can do anything like that. Maybe you're going to cut all of your collage papers in that you put somewhere in like wave shapes, and that's how you do that. So a lot of options there. And then the ground here looked, I just put blew up a little fish in there, stuff like that. Just elements like that, okay? So today, what you're gonna do, after you pull the tape off your translucent veils, you're going to chose a drink last week and put your name on it. Unfortunately, they've gotten all scrambled up. So just find the one that you think you want to do today. And a lot of people change their mind anyway, so that's okay. There's plenty of them, I promise. If you can't find the one you want, let me know and I will make it happen for you. But if you use one of these, you're going to need to transfer it onto the paper so you don't have to eyeball draw it unless you just really want to. And this is how you transfer. What you're going to do, if this was empty, I'm going to place this teacup, make sure I'm placing it where I want it, and then I'm going to take 2 pieces of tape and I'm going to make a hinge. Now sometimes the hinge has to hinge at the top, but in this case I'm going to hinge it on the bottom because it's closer to an edge. And the reason for that is once you start transferring, you don't want your drawing to move on you. Otherwise, you know, it'll be all over the place. Now these are simple drawings, so it's not as important as if we were to be transferring something really complex. But now we have this hinge and we can lift it up and see what we've done. But in between the paper and the painting, or at this time your board will still be empty, right? You have to slide in here a piece of transfer paper, or carbon paper it used to be called. So it comes in all different colors, but this is black. And so it's going to transfer this dark black stuff, watch this, see, onto your board. So you have to slide that face down, like the meat in the middle, just like that, and all you have to do is trace it, and it will transfer right onto the board. Now some of you who wanted martinis, I just have these tracers. So all you need to do is trace it with a pencil onto your board. And one quick thing about the board I should have mentioned is, if you have a board or a canvas board, make sure that it has primer or gesso on it. So it should have been primed with white gesso. So if your board, you bought one of the ones that's just all wood, you will need to today take some gesso, which I have right here, and do a nice thin coat of gesso on the top and on the sides of it. But if you bought canvas boards, those are already done for you, okay? You don't need to do the sides if you bought that, right? But the top definitely has to have gesso on it. So if you have just a plain board, just make sure you take some time to gesso it, okay? And that will just help seal the wood, is the purpose of that. Okay, so once you transfer this, then we'll just take that back, and then you can just put that, and then you'll have your awesome cafe culture drink on your board. And then you have to go up to that counter or to that counter and pick your 3 or 4 colors, okay? So that counter behind Pam with a big hand, that has the neutral colors, so black, white, browns, and some skin tone colors over there. And then the counter over there has secondary colors and primary colors. So red, yellow, blue, orange, green, violet over there. There's lots of different shades and tones. So you shouldn't have to mix any colors. If you find exactly the right shade that you need, you don't have to pour this out to use it. Sometimes I just pop the lid off, squish the paint on there, and spread it around. That's the easiest way to do it. Or some people like to open the lid all the way and have a little bit more control, and you can just stick your paintbrush right into the container. What I ask you not to do is don't pour the paint into the lid, because it seals the lid on, and then I have to get a muscle man over here to open it for us. Okay, which I like to do actually, so. If you do for some reason want to mix a color, there are those little paper cups are right behind there, and you can help yourself. And if you want to mix a color, you can totally do that, or direct mix it right on your page, okay? So if you can't find the color you really want and you need to mix it, that's totally fine. But most of us can just use it straight out of the container so it wastes less paint. This is just craft acrylics that we use because we're going to cover most of it with collage paper, so you don't need really expensive acrylics to do this project, okay? All right, are you guys with me so far? Are we good? Okay, so after you pick your colors, you want to paint the background first, because what's behind the drink needs to look like it's behind the drink. So the paint in the background needs to look like it's behind the paint that you paint in the foreground. So paint your background and your table first, and then paint your drink last. So what I would do here is I would just squish out a little bit of the Tennessee orange, and then I would just spread it with a paintbrush, which I must have, don't know, could have swore I was ready for y'all. Everything but a paintbrush. Can you throw me a paintbrush? Oh, thank you, Pam. There we go. Thank you. And then you're just going to paint it in. And I'm going to leave just a little bit of edge sometimes there. Maybe not. And just simply spread it. And it's very simple painting, so don't overthink this part. Don't try to do any details. This is just the local color, so when I'm making my martini drink, Tennessee orange, I can let some of it peek through if I need to. And then I usually go ahead and pull that color all the way down here. Now remember this one, normally this tabletop would also be a different color. So this time I'm for sure going to make sure I leave a white edge because I don't want to lose the bottom of my martini glass. Are there any questions? No? All right, y'all are awesome. So if you get to the part today where you're choosing your papers, I'm going to give you a paper bag, a plastic bag, and these are huge. I didn't realize they were going to be that huge. They're hard to open, so let us know if you can't get them open. But there's Sharpies on your table so you can put your name on it, and you can keep your papers inside here that you collect for yourself, so you're not having to refile them back. And then at the end of class, you'll just put your wet paintings on the drying rack over there, and then just put this under it if you have had time to get a bag. Okay. So let me just, last thing, talk to you just a little bit about collaging in the background, because that's what you're going to start with first. And if you don't get to that part, that's okay, but some of you might. So just a few people got there last night. So if you didn't have if you're not here or you just started the class, then you should have, we're going to give you a squeeze bottle, and the matte varnish medium that I had you buy, we're going to combine it with a heavy gloss gel so that it becomes more of a satin look, and it will help you be able to use this whole bottle and then refill it for the whole 12 weeks you're here. That's the idea there. You may even have some left over for next semester. It's best I like to put it in a little container, so if you don't have a little container to do that, I can give you one of those, and that way you can keep a lid on it. You should have a dedicated glue brush. Try to resist using this for paint, and try to resist using your paint brushes in the glue. Make sure that you don't leave your glue brush sitting on the table for long periods of time. Make sure you just put it in the water. That way it's not ruining your glue brush. These Princeton brushes are awesome because they are very stiff, and when you're gluing, especially this project, the last project, it didn't matter if we didn't get the paper down flat, because like me and Julie, we loved how it looked when we crunchled it. Okay, you don't want to do that for this one. It does look a whole lot better if you can glue the paper flat. So if I were to glue a black something in the back, you can cut or you can tear your paper, and I'll just cut this. And let's say I'm going to put that there. Now usually I find a whole bunch of papers and lay them down first and kind of get an idea, and then I'll glue it. Some people like to go ahead and get one piece done. I want it there, I know I want it there, and they'll glue it down. Either way you want to do that is okay. You can always, if you change your mind, just glue something over the top of it, right? Because it's collage. So don't worry, there's really no mistakes. It's just opportunities you didn't think of before. So I don't know what to do. So what you're going to do to make sure it's really flat is that paper glue method, where you're really putting glue down on the surface. And this is why it's better to do this not using a stretched canvas, right? Because if I was to try to push this down, the canvas is going to flex. So that's why these harder boards, the canvas boards, are better than a stretched canvas. And I can cut right on top of this too. And then I'm going to put glue on top. And I'm pressing down with the glue brush to make sure I got all the air bubbles out. So it's nice and flat. Does that make sense? So glue and then paper and then glue on top, or you're actually pushing down to make sure that that is nice and flat. If you need to cut precise edges, you can use an X-Acto knife. I have those out. And you can lay the paper on top and just kind of cut out right on top of the board because it's not going to hurt it. You can do that with the canvas boards too. You can't do that with a stretched canvas though. And that's in cases where, like, you know, when I cut the woman out, I knew that I needed to cut her hand out exactly in the spot I needed it. So before I collaged all this pink in, I had laid her there and cut her out exactly how I wanted it with an X-Acto knife. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, good. And those X-Acto knives are right over here. If for some reason you don't want to cut on your board, I also have the X-Acto knife mats. So please don't cut on my table. Just cut on the board like that. I think that's everything. Are there any questions? Yes.
Do we need to sort of pay attention to the color wheel, the colors we put next to each other or as part of the composition, or not really?
Only in contrast wise. Is that what you only need to make a contrast between your drink, which is the star of the show, and the background, so it comes forward. So like I wouldn't want to do a really dark red drink against a really dark black background, because that's not going to have a lot of contrast, right? So you want to think about that only in that sense. You could have like a really bright red, and then you could go across the color wheel and use the opposite, and you can do a toned down dull green, and that would give a super contrast, because then you are doing the complements, which help each other look better, but also it's the opposite colors are going to make each other stand out. And the bright versus dull as well, the intensity. It just reminded me one other question, going back to our compositional archetypes. So this one has which type of archetype? Which archetype is this composition? Central. But if I were to move this way to the left or to the right, which archetype would it have? An L. And sometimes you want to do that because you have an idea about something you want to do over here in the empty space. So the L-type archetypes give you the option that you're going to have something happening in the background that's important too, but you still have this main element. So like if you think about Van Gogh's Starry Night, you have that big cypress tree on the left, right? And then all that other space is that beautiful sky, which is why everybody loves that painting. All those beautiful, choppy, not sloppy brush strokes in the sky. So that is why you would use a more L-shaped composition if you have a specific idea that you want something happening over there. Or the central composition works too, because this is the star of my show. That's why I put it dead in the center. Don't be afraid also to do something more creative, like you can have things turned to the side, because anytime you create diagonals in a composition, it creates energy and movement. This is a very static thing. It's still, it's right in the dead center, and it's like Tennessee strength, right? So, but maybe you want to create more of something moving in your picture. So if I were to do the seaside teeny that I was talking about, or a seaside drink, I would probably do something like that, where I purposely tilt it to make it feel like the ocean, you know, moving, to keep using that idea and repeating that idea, even though it may not be stated directly. So this is actually supposed to remind you of a football. See the shape? So that's why it's tabletop shape when you draw that in, and I didn't mention that before, can be any shape you want, but in this case I did a round table to give, again, the idea of a football. And it's repeating those shapes, those curvy shapes as well. So when you draw your teeny in, or your wine glass, or your coffee cup, you also need to draw a tabletop. So just draw a line. It can be a straight line, it can be just straight across, or it can be a curvy one, like that. Okay, all right, so I think we're ready. So remember, you're gonna pull your tape off first and get those done, and we'll get those off the table and into the drawer for you. Make sure your name's on the back in Art 5, and then you're going to choose your drink and transfer your drink, and then go get your colors, paint your background, then your tabletop, and then your drink, and then you can start going and get your magazine pages for the background. And next week I'm going to really go into collaging as far as how do you make this look like a glass, What do we do about the part that is supposed to be glass, but the background showing through? I can talk to you through all that, but that's a whole lot of information. So I'm gonna let you get started now. One quick thing is, we can stop the recording so this is not recorded.